Hi, everyone. Welcome to another Clean Machine Live. My name is Geoff Palmer. I'm the CEO and founder of Clean Machine. Before we get started, let's go ahead and pop up the, oops, not that one. There we go. This video is for informational and educational purposes only. It is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Okay, so taurine. Taurine is a non-essential amino acid for humans. Some people have said it's a conditionally essential amino acid because it may be required during the early phases of human life, but that's still debatable. Let's get where this is all being stirred up from. Well, there's a study being circulated around the internet that taurine helps extend life, and therefore, plants don't make taurine. That's impossible. They don't make any taurine at all. So the only place you can get taurine is by eating animals, and therefore, aha, see, vegans are wrong. They're not getting enough taurine. This just is not true. Okay, so where does this myth come from? Well, let's start with some of the basic facts about taurine. So the title of this video is, Do Humans Need Dietary Taurine? That means taurine from outside of our body. Separating the facts from the bull. Now that's a double entendre because taurine, which is a non-essential amino acid, was first discovered in ox bile, hence the name taurine, Taurus, like the bull. But what do oxen eat? Grass. They're basically herbivores. So how do they get their taurine? Well, they make it. Their body makes it, just like every other herbivore on this planet, including human beings. Now, carnivores cannot make taurine. So it is an essential amino acid for all carnivores. This is one of the clear ways we know human beings are not carnivores, because we do make our own taurine, just like every other herbivore on the planet. Carnivores cannot make it. Herbivores all make it. There's a clear distinguishing between what a carnivore must eat in order to meet its needs. It must eat other animals to get its taurine. It can't get it from plants because plants don't make it. All herbivores make their own taurine, so taurine is a non-essential amino acid for humans as well as other herbivores. Okay, so let's get to the study. This is the study that's causing all the stir on the internet and social media right now. And the title of the study, you can read it right below, is Taurine May Be a Key to Longer and Healthier Life. Oh, what an awesome title for a study. But I think it's a little misleading too, as well, because you can see right from the study, it says a deficiency of taurine, a nutrient produced in the body and also found in many foods, is a driver of aging, whoops, in animals. Okay, so that should be the first red flag. This is an animal study. It's not a human study. We do have a human study, and I'm going to get to that in a second. But let's go on to the next quote from that. The same study found that taurine supplements can slow down aging process. Well, that's exciting, can slow down aging in worms, mice, and monkeys. Okay, we're not worms, mice, or monkeys. And can even extend healthy lifespans in middle-aged mice, up to 12%. Okay, so let's dig down into that. One, you've got worms, mice, and monkeys all in a laboratory where their diet is forced upon them by lab assistants, people in little lab coats feeding them what? Monkey chow, mice chow, and whatever the worms were being fed. Okay, so you have not their natural diet, one, not their natural setting, two, and they're under lock and key in confined spaces and being tested upon, stressed out to the max. Okay, so that is not a natural environment for getting some testing on a taurine. One, it's on animals that don't have the same qualities as human beings do. And two, it's feeding them whatever the lab assistants are feeding them. So who knows what their diet was, how poor their diet was. And then three, they're in stressed out, unnatural environments, which can cause changes in their metabolism, can cause changes in their functioning, all the way across the board. So right off the gate, this study is kind of a joke. But let's look at it for its serious components. Okay. So taurine is considered a non-essential amino acid because our body can make taurine. Taurine naturally occurs in the human body, and, quote, a deficiency of taurine in humans is rare. That's a quote directly from the study. Okay, let's get to the next one. All right. So, what then would cause a deficiency in taurine? Well, how does our body make taurine? Well, it takes the essential amino acids, either methionine or cysteine, the two sulfur amino acids. These are essential amino acids. And remember, where do all essential amino acids originate? Plants. Animals do not and cannot make essential amino acids. These are the building blocks for taurine. Okay, so our body takes essential amino acids made only by plants. Whether you get them from an animal or not doesn't matter. They were originally made by a plant. So you're just taking a plant's essential amino acids, feeding it to an animal, then eating it. You can get those the same exact essential amino acids from the original source, which is plants. So you take essential amino acids, methionine or cysteine, and you use B6 to actually convert that into taurine. Okay, so that's an interesting thing. So what if you were low on vitamin B6? Would that affect your taurine levels? Well, let's look at this study. So vitamin B6 insufficiency, that's not getting enough vitamin B in your diet, has been proven to impede taurine biosynthesis. Now, the study goes on to below that, but I just want to make this real clear. So vitamin B6, if you're not getting enough, can reduce your body's ability to make its own taurine. So this is important. Okay, but let's see what the causes they call out are for B6 insufficiency. One, low vitamin B6 intake from your food, which can be plants or animals. There's abundant amount of vitamin B6 and bananas and nuts and seeds and sweet potatoes and spinach and just all over the place. The plant kingdom's loaded with vitamin B6, great sources throughout our diet. Avocados are rich in B6. Chickpeas, one half a cup of chickpeas can give you 65% of your total daily intake of vitamin B6. So tons of it from plants, and we're eating more plants as vegans because our whole diet is a plant. So B6 is really not an issue for vegans. Number two, drug antagonism. Okay, so if you're taking certain medications that have the potential to lower your body's ability to either absorb or utilize B6, that can be a problem. Talk to your doctor about that. Or altered metabolism by one or more diseases. Well, a whole food plant-based diet has generally shown across the board to reduce your risk of those diseases. So once again, one, you're getting lots of B6 should from a healthy whole food plant-based diet, and two, hopefully you're not in the need to take drugs. If you are, talk to your doctor if that impedes your vitamin B6 intake. And three, it's altered by diseases. Well, let's look at some of those diseases and what they could be. Okay, so this next study is actually looking at vegetarians and seeing, because there's some studies that have showed that the bioavailability of the vitamin B6 is a little bit lower in plants than it is in animals, because animals have actually already converted that vitamin B6 into usable forms. Okay, so they were concerned about that. But when they looked at that, they found something quite different. They showed that vegan participants actually had higher vitamin B6 levels in their bloodstream than omnivores or even vegetarians. So the more plant-based diet you were on, the more plants you were eating, the higher the amount of blood levels were actually in your blood. This is where it can be used by the body to convert methionine and cysteine into taurine. So if that's the case, then vegans actually have higher amounts of B6 and can convert more amounts of these essential amino acids into taurine and should actually have higher levels of taurine. And again, just to give you an example, just garbanzo beans or chickpeas are actually one of the best sources, even higher than meat, at providing 65% of your daily value in a single cup. Just a bowl of hummus, and you're practically 2/3 the way there to getting all your B6 for the entire day. And that's not including bananas, avocados, nuts and seeds, oats, potatoes, sweet potatoes, just all the way across the board. There's so many sources, good sources of plant B6. Okay, so when they found that if the intake of vitamin B6 tended to be a little lower, yet the blood levels of B6 were higher in vegans, how could that be? If you're intaking less and your blood levels are higher, what's going on? Well, what about usage of your vitamin B6? So when you look at what the body needs vitamin B6 for, you can see that a meat-based diet actually may cause us to use up more of the vitamin B6, lowering our blood levels of vitamin B6 and not leaving enough, so potentially enough to convert those essential amino acids into taurine. So what does it use it for? So vitamin B6 is used for heme iron metabolism. Remember, heme iron only comes from animals. It is not found in any plant food. So if you don't consume heme iron, like those on a whole food plant-based diet, whole food plant exclusive diet, I should say, are vegans, you are not consuming any heme iron, so you don't need to use up your B6 for heme iron metabolism. Homocysteine metabolism. Once again, you're finding homocysteine levels higher in those on a meat-based diet than those on a plant-based diet. So again, you're using up less of your B6 for that purpose. Inflammation, arachidonic acid. So our body uses B6 to help quell arachidonic acid. Well, arachidonic acid is not found in any plant at all. Plants do not and cannot make arachidonic acid. There's only one source of arachidonic acid in our diet, and that is animal foods. All of the meats have arachidonic acid in it. So the only way we can get dietary intake of arachidonic acid is by eating meat. And it takes up more of our B6 to do that. Amino acid metabolism. Generally, those on a meat-based diet are getting higher amounts of protein. So their body is using up B6 to process all that protein. If your body can't use it, it can pile up and damage the kidneys. Kidney disease. Kidney disease causes an accelerated use of vitamin B6. Once again, we see much higher rates of kidney disease in those on an omnivore diet compared to those on a plant pure diet. It's practically non-existent unless it's hereditary or genetic in those on a plant-based diet. So all of these usages for vitamin B6 are much higher in those eating an omnivore or meat-based diet than they are in a plant-exclusive or vegan diet. So this is where we're getting into the rates where even though you're getting good sources of B6, your body is using them all up and then may not have or may have less to convert those essential amino acids, methionine and cysteine, into taurine, which then could benefit your health. Okay. So what did they find in the mice studies that this longevity is begin? So they were feeding the mice and they found, great, they lived longer, they lived healthier. But what happens when they stopped supplementing their diet with extra taurine? This is a quote directly from the study. When the taurine treatment stopped, before behavioral experiments began, mice, male mice especially, had significant impairments in spatial learning and memory. So what you've done, and this is just what I am theorizing, this isn't, but what I'm getting from this is that you give the body an external source of taurine in a supplement, or in the case of those eating animal products, animal foods. When you give it in a preformed state and the body is not making it, it sends a signal to the body, hey, it's already in the bloodstream, I don't have to make my own. Okay, so the body shuts down its own manufacturing process. It says, shut down the manufacturing. We don't need to make taurine. There's lots coming in from the food. Now, when you take that supplemental taurine away, the body says, uh-oh, start up the engines again. We got to start making our own taurine again. And the brain functions of the mice went down. So you're basically interfering with the own body's natural process of making its own taurine for its own health purposes by supplementing. You're interfering with the body's natural process to produce its own. And then when you take it away, it's deplete. It is lower. It doesn't have enough to meet its needs because now it has to shift gears back again and start producing its own taurine again. So maybe not such the best idea, but it gets worse. With the female mice, they found and this is quote directly from the study, in dose response study when taurine treatment continued. This is actually they stopped the treatment and then they started giving taurine to the female mice. The females had significant impairments. So the taurine was not even good for the female mice. No bueno. So that's not real promising that we should be telling even mice shouldn't be taking taurine supplements, especially female mice. Okay. All right. So towards the end of the study, they're saying, okay, so this is no proof that it works in humans. But let's take a look at some of the other studies they were looking at that got them excited about this research. So in the study, the researchers said, well, let's take a look at what general population and who has the highest taurine. Well, this is what they found. The researchers, and this is direct quote again, all of these are direct quotes from the study. The researchers reported that people had higher levels of taurine were healthier. And had lower levels of obesity, which is what we find with those generally on a whole food plant-based diet. Had lower levels of inflation, which is also what we find with those on a whole food plant-based diet. And had reduced frequency of hypertension, which also happens to be what we find with people on a whole food plant-based diet, and fewer cases of type 2 diabetes, which is also what we find with people on a whole food plant-based diet, especially a low-fat diet, because we know that saturated fat especially, and saturated animal fat in particular, can lead to type 2 diabetes and insulin resistance. So every single one of these, if you're healthier, yeah, that's a whole food plant-based diet. And if you're lower in obesity, diabetes, and inflammation and hypertension, yes, you can look up study after study and see that a whole food plant-based diet almost always lowers every single one of those instances. So what they're basically saying is those with the highest amount of taurine were significantly those that were healthier, had all of these factors, which are all pointing to a whole food plant-based diet. So that was the one thing that they found, which was dietary, looking at their diets basically, and looking at their disease states. Now, the second thing they found was, this. So they looked at people who were exercised, right? And they took people that were doing endurance exercise, they took bodybuilders, they took people doing all different types of exercise, CrossFitters, whatever, and even sedentary people, and they made them exercise. And this is the quote directly from the study. No matter the individual or even the exercise, all had increased taurine levels after exercise, which suggests that some of the health benefits of exercise may come from an increase in taurine. Remember, they're not changing their diet at all. This came from exercise stimulating our own body to produce more taurine. Endogenous inside of our body, producing more taurine from those essential amino acids just by exercise alone. No change of the diet, regardless of dietary pattern. Every single individual, whether you were sedentary and worked out for the very first time, or were a bodybuilder or a championship runner, did not matter. Every single one of the individuals increased taurine with exercise. So this is telling us that just exercise alone can create increases in taurine, which is awesome, something I've been touting and telling people the whole time. So this is really clear to me that one, the insufficiency in human beings is because one, let's go ahead and just put it up right up on the screen. Okay, so one, the human body makes its own taurine just like every herbivorous animal on the planet. There is no reason or no need for a human being unless there is a specific genetic defect going on. I'm talking about a normal, healthy adult human being. The human body makes its own taurine from essential amino acids, from methionine and cysteine and vitamin B6. So you need to make sure you're getting sufficient amounts of protein, which will supply those two essential amino acids, and getting enough vitamin B6 in your diet, which is easy on a whole food plant-based diet. Remember, too, that they found this both in the mice and they find it in humans, too, that our taurine levels decrease as we age, probably because we become less and less efficient at processing protein as we age. And I believe that's due to us eating way too much more protein than we really need. And it's declining our body's efficiency to convert that protein into usable essential amino acids and amino acids. So yes, the research all the way across the board says once you hit about the age of 50, it's probably a slight increase of dietary protein intake would make more sense and could potentially extend lifespan in adults over 50, humans or any other animal for that sake. Basically, as you age, you need to gradually increase your protein intake. Not a lot. It's not a lot. Take a look at the research, talk about it with your physician. And then finally, do it. Get out there, whether it's the gym or basketball or swimming or biking or running or whatever it is for you, even yoga or whatever. Do some physical activity. It will boost your taurine. The taurine that'll help protect cells, that will help protect actually sperm too as well, that will help throughout the body, even brain function. Our body makes its own taurine, but it needs you to be active and it needs you to eat a proper, healthy diet and stay out of the disease zone. And those diseases are from being sedentary and a poor quality diet. And yes, you can consume a poor quality vegan diet too as well if you're eating nothing but junk food and processed, highly ultra processed foods. Not great. It's why I tout and why I personally consume a whole food plant-based diet. Plus, I get more of my nutrients from my backup of supplements to make sure I'm really hitting all of my nutrient requirements for omega-3s, branched chain amino acids, and vitamin D3 especially. Real important to get those nutrients in, whether you get them from supplements or food, just make sure you're getting them in. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it cleared up these myths about taurine. I know social media can go wild on these. Aha, see, we got you vegans, you need taurine and you don't get it from plants. Well, it's true. We don't get it from plants. It's because we don't need to. Human beings make our own, and we make our own even more when we eat healthy, whole food, plant-based diet and exercise. And that's what I encourage you to do. Stay fit, stay healthy, enjoy your life, and let's live long and prosper. We'll talk to you next week.